Money launderers are not waiting for your next policy update. They are watching for gaps that we leave and they make their moves there. In a previous video, I broke down money laundering red flags in cases like Danske Bank, HSBC and the FinCrime files, and I'll put a link above here in case you missed it. But today, I want to build on that and explore 3 other major scandals that show how simple money laundering red flags can snowball into billions being moved undetected. So if you work in AML, KYC, sanctions, FAU, or you aspire to move into these roles, this will give you practical lesson that you can take straight back into your day-to-day work. So let's immediately jump into today's video. So why these scandals matter today? Various international bodies remember that still estimate that between 2 and 5% of global GDP is laundered every day. So that's trillions, and it's not slowing down, unfortunately. So Europol recently highlighted that professional money laundering networks are now also offering laundering as a service to criminal groups across Europe. What's the meaning of that? It is that controls are improving, but organized crime is adapting just as fast. And here is the point of today's video. In almost every major scandal, there were clear money laundering red flags long before enforcement action happened. So let me walk you through 3 cases different from the one we covered before, and then we'll turn those into good training lessons that you can then use. Share companies, PEPs, and luxury assets. The 1MDB scandal saw billions diverted from Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund through layers of shell companies across multiple jurisdictions. According to the US Department of Justice, more than $4 billion were misappropriated, and by 2024, the US had returned around $1.4 billion of recovered assets to Malaysia. So the money laundering red flags pattern here is very familiar. PEPs and close associates involved in grey corporate structure run some transactions inconsistent with stated business activity, offshore entities with weak economic rationale, and luxury property and artwork purchased via intermediaries accounts. So for those in a typical KYC or onboarding teams, this could easily appear as large international deals, often that look like this. But these scandals show why AML teams must connect the dots between ownership, transactions, patterns, and unexplained wealth, and why training needs to push people to challenge, not to assume. The second case is on Wachovia and Mexican drug cartel, so the danger of business as usual. In the 2000s, Wachovia, later acquired by Wells Fargo, processed hundreds of billions of dollars from Mexican currency exchange houses, a sector known for cartels involvement. So investigators cited about $378 billion in wires, checks, and cash deposits. So US authorities concluded the bank failed to maintain an effective AML programs for this relationship. The money laundering red flags were loud, so extremely large cash deposit, high risk location and sector, sudden increase in volume with not documented justifications, limited understanding of end clients. So what makes this case relatable today is that many institutions still have legacy high-risk correspondent account, high-volume partners whose monitoring hasn't been updated for years, and teams that assume if the business wants it, it must be fine. This scandal is a reminder that complacency is a money launderer's best friend. The third case I'm going to bring up is on Westpac and AUSTRAC. Small payments, big consequences. So in 2019, AUSTRAC alleged that Westpac had breached AML CTF rules over 23 million times, mainly due to failure in reporting international funds transfer instructions. So Westpac eventually paid a 1.3 billion Australian dollars penalty, the largest civil penalty in Australia history at the time. Some of the most serious issues involved low-value payments to high-risk regions associated with child exploitation risk, payments that went unchallenged for years. So AUSTRAC highlighted failures to monitor and escalate these transactions properly. The money laundering red flags here are extremely relevant for modern AML teams. So we have frequent small international transfers, unusual destinations given to customers' profile, weak monitoring scenarios failing to detect typologies that are involving exploitation, staff that is unaware of the behavioral indicator tied to high-risk crimes. So this case shows that it's not always the big transfer that matters. Sometimes the small transactions hold the biggest risk. So what all these three cases teach us? Across 1MDB, Wachovia and Westpac, the themes are quite consistent. We can see red flags that were visible long before enforcement. PEPs, offshore structure, unexpected wealth, odd payments pattern. Control existed but were not applied consistently. For example, monitoring rules too broad, threshold too high, outdated risk assessment. And then the staff didn't feel equipped or confident to challenge. So not because they were careless, but because the training didn't prepare them for real-world patterns. FATF has repeatedly emphasized in its banking sector guidance that institutions must ensure staff understand and react to red flags indicator within risk-based approach framework. So in 2020, FATF published a full report on the red flag indicators for virtual assets, reinforcing how important it is to recognize suspicious behavior pattern as early as possible. And the message is clear. Technology doesn't replace human judgment. It supports it 100%, but only if training is strong. So here are 5 things you can start doing immediately. First one, use real scandals in training. So simplified, anonymized if needed, not just definition, but actual patterns that mirror, for example, those 1MDB, Wachovia, Westpac use cases that we talked about today in this video. Second thing that you can do is connect every red flag to a specific role: KYC, TM analyst, frontline staff. Each sees a different part of the puzzle, and if you don't connect the dots, you will inevitably miss the big picture. Third step, include professional money laundering networks. So Europol has highlighted how these networks now act like logistics companies for criminal funds. Add these behaviors into your training scenarios. Fourth, reinforce escalation culture. Training must repeat one idea. If something feels wrong, escalate, even if the business likes the client. And fifth, measure training impact. Look for improvement in internal SAR quality, case notes referencing like new topologies, analysts raising better questions on source of funds or wealth. So this is how you can move from tick box compliance to a team that actually prevents harm. So if you want more structured guidance, practical casework, and real example like the one we've seen today in this video, do take a look at my FinCrime Career Accelerator course. It's designed to help you gain that experience and confidence that you need in AML, sanctions, intelligence and investigation unit roles, and you will find the link in the video description right below or in here on the screen. So to wrap up this video, money laundering red flags are only powerful when people are able to recognize them and act on them. So these scandals prove that big failures rarely start big. They start with small red flags that someone didn't actually fully understand, and that's exactly why strong ML training is still extremely important. If you found this video helpful, do press the like button and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more insight into regulatory compliance and financial crime. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.